I need to do whatever's best for the company, and I don't care what my title is. Nothing is beyond me. I'm going to go into the data center. I'm going to fix the problem. And my response to you is, you're not a CISO. Welcome to Life of a CISO. I'm Dr. Eric Cole, your host, and we'll be taking you on a journey each week on what it takes to be a CISO and what are solutions that you can implement today if you are currently a Chief Information Security Officer or if you want to be one in the future. This is Life of a CISO. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Life of a CISO with yours truly. Dr. Eric Cole is in the house. Right? I am so excited to be with you. I just got back from some traveling, right? Starting to get back on the road again, start to pick up a little bit with the COVID going on, and just so happy to be with you in the studio. One of my favorite times of the week where we get to talk about my favorite subject, cybersecurity, because I am on a mission and I want you to join me on that mission to make cyberspace a safe place to live, work, and raise a family. As always, I like to start off with a couple of questions. And it's interesting because I'm starting to get more and more questions about this division of CISO and security engineer. And I'll just take a few of them. One of them was, Eric, I thought one of the rules is you do whatever it takes to be successful. If your company needs help, you do whatever it takes. So if a router breaks, you jump in and you roll up your sleeves and you fix the router. You do whatever it takes to keep the company up and running. Now, I want to be careful here. If we're talking about a small, tiny company, right? If we're talking about a company where you are the IT person, you are the security person, you are the CIO, you are the CISO, and maybe a few other hats, a sysadmin, and a few things like that, then you're absolutely right. You are absolutely correct that in those organizations, you're going to be a master of many things. You're going to have to do whatever it takes because you're the only person that's there. So in those small types of environments, I agree, but I would argue in those environments, you're really not a CISO. You're really the all-in-one technical person. So you might go in and do a little bit of strategy and this and that, but you're really more of a technical person with a little bit of strategy. When I'm talking about a Chief Information Security Officer, I'm talking about medium to large organizations where there is a team of technical people. And your job is to focus on the strategy. Now, in that example, and I'll admit this is hard for some security people, and this is exactly what I'm referring to when I'm saying be careful. If you have a team of technical people and you are the Chief Information Security Officer and a router goes down or a system goes down, you pick up the phone and you find the correct person to fix it. You do not roll up your sleeves and run into the data center and fix the problem. Now, I know some of you, because I coach some of you, right, and I deal with some of you like, Eric, that is absolutely wrong. That is not the correct approach. I need to do whatever's best for the company, and I don't care what my title is. Nothing is beyond me. I'm going to go into the data center. I'm going to fix the problem. And my response to you is, you're not a CISO, right? You love the tech, right? And you might not like this, right? You might want to fight me and be like, you're wrong. But trust me on this one, I'm right. If you really want to be a CISO, you stay strategic and you let the technical people do their technical job. And if you can't do that, if you're the type of person that regardless of your title, if something is broken and you're going to run into the data center and fix it, then you can make a lot of money and you're going to be in high demand, but you need to be a super senior security person. You need to go in and be that person that always fixes the problem. You need to recognize that's who you are and you need to embrace it, stop fighting it, and stop trying to be that CISO, because guess what? Deep down inside, that's not how you're wired. And like I said, some people are going to fight me on it, but let me give you another piece of advice. When you're listening to somebody speak, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a show, whether it's in a conversation, and you start getting irritated, angry, or defensive, and you're like, no, that's completely and totally wrong. I'm not. That is an indicator that you might want to pay attention, right? Because your brain is going to try and protect you. So when it hears things that you don't want to hear that are against your belief system, you're going to fight it and get defensive. And those are usually the things you need to hear the most. So I'm always very aware when I'm talking to somebody, if I start getting upset, angry, defensive, I immediately take out my notepad and I write it down because I'm like, there's something there. There's something there that I need to pay attention to because it's letting me get upset and a little irritated there. So that's just something to keep in mind. What we're talking about are strategic cybersecurity thinkers, chief information security officers. And I had somebody say, I'm still a little confused on that. The CISO creates the plan. The technical folks execute the plan. So if you like going in there and coming up with the roadmap for the organization, metrics for tracking progress, and reviewing and validating the metrics, that is strategy and that is a CISO. If you like rolling up your sleeves and implementing the solution, applying patches, hardening systems, fixing routers, applying updates, that is tactical and technical, and that is not a CISO. And I will tell you, if you want to be a very successful CISO, you cannot do both. Now, you might be able to find a smaller company that lets you do both, but that is not a CISO. I will tell you, you get into a larger company, and if you're the CISO and you start running into the data center and patching, fixing, or bringing routers back up when they go down, not only are you losing focus on the strategy, not only will the executives get mad at you, but your entire team will be annoyed because that's not your job. And because CISO is such a new role, that's why so many technical people struggle with it. And that's why I put together this podcast. But know your swim lane and stay within that swim lane. And then one other question before we jump into some of the great content I have for you today is somebody said, Eric, you always talk about chief information security officer. What about a chief security officer? Well, a chief security officer, for those not familiar, that is physical and cyber together. So in some companies, they have security all lumped together. And the reason is because they're starting to get interrelated. In the old days, physical security were physical locks with keys. Now, most locks are digital. Most locks are run by access control systems, identity access management, and are controlled by technology, badges, and other systems. So in a lot of companies, when you're giving credentials to the network, you're giving credentials to offices, buildings, and other locations. So we're starting to see a little bit of that merge together. I will tell you that is few and far between. Most companies' physical security is still kept under operations because it still has a lot of non-technical aspects to it. Right? There's still fences, guards, and other aspects to it. And information security is kept separately. But once again, if you're in a unique organization and you understand both of those areas and you enjoy that, then yes, there is some relationship between physical and cyber. So being a chief security officer can actually help you there. But I will tell you this, and the reason why I tell most of my clients to shy away, finding somebody that's really good at business and cybersecurity that can think strategically is very, very difficult. If you look at most of my comments from most of my videos, it's because you have people that want to play in a technical sandbox. But Eric, I'm a CISO and I still want to harden the routers. I still want to, and so finding a person that can speak to executives, understand security, and build a strategy and stay in their swim lane is very, very rare. Now, add into that somebody who also knows physical security and locks and fences and all that, and you're getting pretty close to a unicorn, right? So if you're one of those folks that you have all three of those skill sets, you understand physical, you understand cyber, and you know how to speak to executives at a strategic level, take out the checkbook and ask yourself one question: how many zeros, right? Because you are a very, very rare asset, and you can get paid a lot of money for doing that. So don't underestimate your skill set. But like I said, because it's hard enough just finding a CISO, most companies are still keeping the cyber and the physical aspects separate, but you can definitely combine them if you so choose. So now let's go in, and now that we're starting to get back to what I call a new normal, I don't believe we'll ever get back to the way things were before, right? And it's one that I know my kids, I have a 20-year-old, an 18-year-old, and a 15-year-old, they're struggling because really in their lifetime, this is what I call a game changer. Now, for many of us, the game changer that we went through that created a new normal was, of course, September 11th. After September 11th, travel was not the same. Security was not the same. There was a lot of things that never, ever went back to the way they were. If you remember, before September 11th, you could bring a 12-ounce bottle of shampoo on the plane. That was perfectly okay. After September 11th, you can't, and it gets more and more restrictive. So many of us sort of lived through this change factor where things never went back to the way they were. And now COVID is going to be another one of those adjusters. There's going to be some things that are just never going to go back to the way they were, and we have to accept that. And I think one of the big ones that actually worries me from an economic perspective for this country is working from home. A lot of companies have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on very expensive space in New York City, California, and other areas. And what COVID has proved is these people don't have to be in the office. I have a friend of mine that lived on Long Island, and before COVID, he would get up at 5 in the morning. He would jump in his car at 5:30. He'd be at the train station at 5:45, and he would be on the 6 o'clock train to New York. He would get to New York around 8 o'clock, walk to his office, grab some coffee, and start working at 9 o'clock. Then he would work till 5, leave the office, go to the train station, on the train by 5:30. Back home, I think that one was an express, so he got in at 7:15 and was home by 7:30. So he would leave his house at 5:30 in the morning, and he would be home at 7:30. But here's the problem. His company was only getting 9 to 5. Now he gets up at 5:30. He exercises, has breakfast with his kids, and he starts work at 8 o'clock. He then goes in and he'll work till 5:36 and then have dinner with his family at 6:15. His company is getting 2 more hours of his time, and his family is getting 2.5 more hours of his time. How is that not a win-win? How is that not a bonus to the individual and the company? So he's saying, why would I ever go back? Right now that I see the light and I see how nice this is to work from home, why would I ever go back to this crazy 5:30 to 7:30 commute? And his boss is asking the same thing, going, my employee is more productive, he's more well-rested, and he's giving me 2 additional hours. Why do I need him to come into the city every single day? So to me, one of the new normals that I think we're going to see is a much higher number of people working from home or working close to home and not having 1, 2, or 3 hour commutes like they used to. Now, what does that mean when it comes to cybersecurity? What that essentially means is we need to design an environment that's location agnostic. So whether you're in the office, whether you're at home, or whether you're traveling, you have the same exact experience. You are not dependent on infrastructure in the office or other components. And this was something that even if COVID didn't happen, we saw happening at a gradual pace with people traveling more, only coming to the office a few days a week, this idea of creating security in a way that is location agnostic is really, really important. So as a CISO, if you're not already addressing it, you need to very quickly say, okay, how are we handling a location agnostic environment? Essentially, everything you need to be productive and be secure needs to be portable and on that laptop that's carried around with the individual. And that sets up a whole new premise, because let's face it, when you were in the office and you received email or you surfed the web, there was typically 8 or 10 different devices that you went through. Now that you're from home, all that's gone. All that infrastructure, this idea of having a complex architecture infrastructure with everything on-prem is no longer a feasible option. That's no longer how we operate. You are now have a laptop and you're directly connecting from home, which brings up a few factors. One, our home networks were never, ever designed to run an office. So one of the first things that CISOs have to think about in this post-COVID or intra-COVID environment with this new normal is, what are you doing to secure all your remote offices? Because let's face it, you went from having one corporate office that had 300 people in it to now supporting 300 local offices. Everybody's home is a local office. Everyone's home is now a potential vector for attack and a potential for compromise. This, to me, is probably the biggest thing that I see organizations and CISOs missing in this current environment that we live, is they are doing minimal to secure the remote office. Because most people's home has a wireless that's set up. Now, if you're one of the few that don't have this, don't get mad at me, right? But most people's wireless at home is butterflies and unicorns, or purple tulips, or ABCD 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Or something that it doesn't take a lot of time, energy, or effort to guess. The security probably wasn't turned on the way it was supposed to. And many of us probably have computers that might not be up to date, might not be fully patched, might not even have endpoint security. I know in a lot of cases that we've surveyed, we still see a lot of people with Windows 7 and XP systems at their home. Because before COVID, let's face it, your home network was convenience. If you wanted to surf the web for an hour or two at night, or do something, or do some basic research, that's what it was for. But you really didn't work from it and conduct business from it. Now, not only are you using it for 10 or 12 hours a day to run your business or whoever you work for, but your kids are now using it to do schooling, and maybe multiple kids, and maybe your significant other is also working from home. So that network was never designed and set up to support a remote office, yet very few people or companies are doing things to help protect that. So we need to start going in and doing two things. One, I know this might sound a little crazy, but with some of the vCISO clients of ours, we're shipping kits to everyone's home. And it has a pre-configured wireless access point with all the proper security turned on, with strong, robust passwords. And we send that to them, and they go in and they plug it in to their internet and they turn it on. Then it also is a UTM, Unified Threat Management device. So it has a firewall, an IDS, and other components in play. And it's actually sending data and information back to a security operations center to be able to manage and watch that remote office. It then has a laptop that has the latest operating system that's fully patched with automatic updates pushed down on a regular basis, with endpoint security configured and set up, with proper access control, encryption, and protection in place. Now, you might go in and say, well, that's a lot of money. I just did this. If you take the amount of money you're spending on rent in that building and you look at what it would cost you, those kits, depending on the high-end level of the equipment, are going to be anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 per person. And if you go in and say, I'm going to spend $5,000 a person a year, or every 2 years, or every 3 years to secure that remote office versus what you're paying in rent, trust me, you got a really good deal. Most companies are paying $3,000 to $6,000 an employee a year for rent. So over 3 years is $15,000 to $20,000. And if you now can give them a kit that's $3,000 to $5,000 for 3 years, because that's the tech refresh cycle, you got a really good deal. You save money, the employees are more productive, and you have a better, secure environment in place. So that's the first thing as a CISO or somebody that wants to become a CISO, is think of all your employees' homes as now remote offices and ask yourself, what are you doing to secure that remote office? What are you doing to protect and lock down that remote office? That's first piece. Second, with a remote workforce and a remote office, having to maintain infrastructure and trying to go in and redesign your architecture doesn't make sense. Most companies design their architecture to keep the bad guys out. It's from the internet, you're stopping bad people from coming in to your network, and then your internal servers are fully accessible by everyone on the private network. So you've created a strong outer perimeter that controls and manages outflow and inflow, and everything within that network is secure. Well, now that your employees are working from home, guess what? Those connections coming in from the internet now have to be allowed in. That breaks all of your firewall rules, your paradigm, and everything you have set up, which means you have to go in and totally and completely redesign that network and that architecture, and then have people maintain and secure that. Why not just move those services to the cloud? Now, this is an interesting one. Even when the cloud came out, I was in a unique group of security professionals that actually supported the cloud. I remember when the cloud first came out, there were people that were like, cloud or die, right? We will never go to the cloud. I mean, I went to some offices where the security department had big signs. We will never do the cloud. The cloud is evil, right? We're never going to put our data out there. That's never, ever going to happen. And I never understood that, because let's break it down. If you are running your own security and IT in-house, it is an overhead function. If you are running IT and security in your company, you are not making money. It is an overhead function. And this was a lesson I learned after I got out of the government and I was a CISO, I think even before the title existed, right, in a telecom company in the mid-90s. And what I realized is when you're an overhead function, you don't control your own destiny. When the company does well, you do well. When the company does poorly, your budget gets cut. So my budgets were constantly going like this and fluctuating, where some years I got a huge budget and some years I got a really tiny budget, depending on the overall health of the company. Now, let me ask you a question. Do the needs of security fluctuate every year? No. Do the security threats, exposures, and risks to your organization change based on how well you're doing? No, and you could argue that maybe when the company does poorly, the risks are bigger, right? You have bigger risks and bigger exposures than you did before. But the point is, security is not something that changes or fluctuates based on the weather or how well your company's doing. So this concept was crazy. Second, because it wasn't the primary function of your business, there wasn't really a promotional scale. If you were a senior engineer, that was it. It wasn't like there were positions you can accelerate to and get higher. So most people would work for a few years and then either move on to another company or another position. So it wasn't something that was really, really scalable. Now let's look at the cloud. With cloud-based services, security and IT are cost centers. They are now having their own P&L. Cloud providers charge their clients for security. So that means they are making money. So as they bring on more clients, they make more money. And now the security budget doesn't change with how well the company's doing, right? Because it is a profit and loss center. So they are controlling their own destiny. Next, because it is their business, you are making money with security. You now have promotional paths. You have ways for people to increase salaries, get more money, and grow within the company. So from my standpoint, when you look at it, to me, the cloud is actually a better option because these companies are doing a better job. If you're doing security in-house and you don't patch systems or you don't keep your operating systems up to date, you don't necessarily go out of business because it's not a profit center. But if you're a cloud provider and you don't patch your systems and you don't keep your systems up to date, guess what? You go out of business because that's what you're charging customers for. And if you're not doing what you're supposed to, they're going to take their business and go somewhere else. So now all of a sudden, the paradigm changes with the cloud. So in my opinion, when I've evaluated companies that are doing security in-house, they'll typically get between a C and a B minus. Now, yes, I know some of you are overachievers and you're going to be like, oh no, Eric, I'd get an A plus, right? But once again, you're the anomaly. If that's true, right? I'm not saying it's not or it is, but once again, we got to be careful here, but you would be the anomaly if that was a true statement. However, with cloud providers, they typically get B plus to A plus because that's their business. So in my mind, if you're not moving to the cloud or aggressively moving to the cloud, that as a CISO based on the pandemic needs to be one of your top priorities. That is going to be the new reality because people are going to work remotely, location agnostic, and having your services up in the cloud is a much more scalable, cost-effective way of operating than running it on-prem and in-house. Next, the other big problem we have today is we lose control of our data. Now, one of the key rules of cybersecurity that every CISO should be aware of is they should be able to answer the questions, what is your critical data? Where is it located and who has access to it? You should always be able to answer those questions. Now, with most organizations, when I ask them that, they'll be able to tell me this is their critical data and here's where it's located. And guess what? They're partially right. That data is located on 3 servers. But here's the problem. It's also located on 4 other servers that they're not aware of. Now, if your data is on 7 servers, but you're only aware of 3, you're only going to protect and secure those 3 servers. You're not going to protect those other 4. Now, here's the trick. Those other 4 servers are covert servers. They're stealthy servers. They're servers you're not aware of. And you might actually call them something that's totally and completely wrong called a laptop. But if you go today and you look at the device that we're calling a laptop, many laptops today have 16 terabytes of memory, 4 processors, and 2 terabyte hard drive. If you go back even 10 years, that was a server. A server in your data center had those parameters. So we are basically giving people portable servers to carry around with them. That's crazy. So think about it. Now, if we have all these remote offices and all these portable servers, AKA laptops, have 2 terabyte drives on them, think of all that data. Think of all that loss of control and think of how exposed that information is. An attacker can now directly target that individual and break in to their organization. So one of the other trends that I see happening as you roll out those remote office kits with the laptops and you do tech refresh, is we're almost going back to thin clients where there really is no hard drive, where now every time you start up your computer, it goes out to a server, in this case, the cloud or the internet, and it downloads the operating system. Then it runs that operating system and all your data is also located in the cloud. Then at the end of the day, when you turn off your computer, the operating system goes away. Now, the biggest drawback to that was bandwidth. But now that we're seeing gigabit to the home, fiber optic in most neighborhoods, and 5G coming out, all of a sudden bandwidth is not an issue anymore. That's not a problem anymore for you to do. So with a lot of our clients, they can download the entire operating system in a couple of minutes. Now, if that is an issue, the other option is you can have a small hard drive that contains a cached image. And when you start up your computer, it goes out to a trusted server and it pulls down a hash. It then runs a hash of your current image. If those hashes are the same, it shows that image hasn't been altered or modified. That means there's no new patches, no new updates, no new changes. And then you run the local version on your hard drive. So that's a quicker option. But now, when you want to patch, update systems, you don't have to reach out to 30,000 computers. You just have to go to one or two, update that master image, and then that gets pushed out to all of your clients. And then all of your data is now stored in a central location on the cloud. So to me, that's the new normal that we're going to be seeing. Now, one thing I love about security professionals is we are trained to find faults. That's our specialty, right? We're always trained to find what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong. So I always get folks that come back and go, but Eric, what about when you're on an airplane? What about this? What about that? Here's what you have to make sure. Are we looking at the big picture? If you go in and step back, and by the way, there's still ways that you can go in and access data and others on airplanes. But here's what it comes down to. Risk one, you have no control of your data. People are running their own laptops at home with 2 terabyte drives, potentially Windows 7, unpatched, no control, and the data is at risk and exposure. So that's risk one. Risk two, under the 1% or 2% chance that your employees are on an airplane. Now, let me ask you a real question. How many times when those people are on airplanes, are they really working? Is this really as big a problem as you're saying it is, right? Trust me, I work all the time and I do a thin laptop solution and there's ways you can cache documents. So I cache a few documents, I go on my plane, I work on them for a few hours, and as soon as I land, this is not a hard thing. So I find sometimes as professionals, we got to be careful. We create problems that aren't really there. We tend to take these little molehills and turn them into mountains. But if you really step back and look at the current solution versus a thin client solution, the thin client solution is a lot better. Now, yes, there's always the adaptation because people don't like change, but that's how I'll finish up this episode. Really good CISOs are masters of change. They know how to manage change, implement change, and roll out change across the organization. But if you want to be a CISO and you want to survive in the new normal, the things you want to be aware of is securing the remote office, the person's home, looking at moving things to the cloud, and looking at thin clients. Now, this might not happen for 9 or 12 months, but remember from previous episodes, really good CISOs are fortune tellers. Really good CISOs can predict and see what's going to happen and stay one step ahead of the organization. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Life of a CISO. It's always a pleasure. I love to hear from you. Please post comments to this video. Please let me know how I can help you. If you're looking for more resources for corporate security, secure-anchor.com. If I can help you with a security assessment, I'd love to. If you're looking at resources for friends or family members, go to onlinedanger.com, and you definitely want to get a copy of Online Danger. That's a book that will help make you and your family and your loved ones safe in cyberspace. So until next time, Let's work together and join me on my mission to make cyberspace a safe place to live, work, and raise a family.